I mean, think about this. He referenced the Clinton administration. Think about what Secretary Clinton did. Clinton exclusively used private servers. Clinton sent and received classified information over those private servers, and she destroyed 30,000 emails. I was on the same committee that the chairman talked about. I was on the Benghazi committee. I asked Secretary Clinton when she testified, I said, hey, how about this? You got 60,000 emails. For years, you've only used business, only done it on your personal private server. You got 60,000 emails. How about this? How about letting someone like a retired federal judge, a neutral third party, examine those emails and determine which ones we should be able to see to figure out what happened in this tragedy in Benghazi? And she said, nope, not going to do that.
On this episode of Just Informed Talk, Q gives us an ominous 24-hour warning about being vigilant and knowing our surroundings, meaning something is going down. And I'm hearing from sources that there are multiple activations of National Guard soldiers, and there seems to be some sort of contingency operation happening nationally. We're going to take a look at that, plus the latest Q post. So you guys want to stick around and watch this. Hi, I'm Craig, and welcome to another episode of Just Informed Talk. I always like to begin by saying thank you to everybody who's hit that subscribe button. If you haven't, please come here, landing page, click the big red subscribe button, make sure you hit the bell for notifications so you get notified when these videos get posted. Obviously, we're going to be picking up right where we left off. We left off at Q post 3550, and we're picking up here at Q post 3551, and we have a lot to cover. So we're going to get right into it. But just before we do that, I always encourage everyone to come back here, watch these last videos, share them on your social media, get the word out that way. The reality is there's an algorithmic bias and manipulation going on with these big tech companies like YouTube, and they're purposefully trying to suppress this content. So I'm always asking you guys to go and hit that share button. Right at the bottom of this video even, there's a share button. All you got to do is hit it and share it on your different social medias. That helps us keep getting the word out and disseminating the information that the American public needs to know, and going around the stranglehold of the fake news machine that has basically hijacked the narrative as far as the global news and national news goes. So we have to come here and present our ideas in order to counter the fake news narrative. So I really depend on you guys to do that. And if you're scratching your head going, what is QAnon? What's the Great Awakening? What's this guy talking about? Please, by all means, go watch this video. What is QAnon, the Great Awakening? It'll give you all the information you need on that, plus a whole lot more. So with that being said, we're going to get right into the latest Q post. So one thing that we did miss last time was this. This wasn't posted on here when we did the last video, and it to me is an indication, especially given what I'm hearing from different sources, that we have a big operation going down somewhere here in this country. And it has to do with the fact that I'm hearing multiple things online about different National Guard members who seem to be activated and not being able to say much about their activation. Also, I'm hearing from other sources who I know are very much on top of these things that there is something really big going down. There's lots of movement. I can't get into any real detail on that, but there's just a lot of movement of military equipment, planes, helicopters, you name it. And I will say this though, there is something happening that is very, very big right now, and it has a lot to do with something we covered before. If you guys will remember, before we get into the latest new post, I just want to reiterate, we talked about in maybe it wasn't the last video, but the video before that, or maybe it was the last video actually, we talked about the fact that there was this supposed event that happened where it tied everything together. The arrest of the U.S. Marines, the recalling of SEAL team from the battlefield, and it had to do with a plot that is right now still speculative, but I'm hearing from people that this could be very well confirmed soon, but I'm just going to leave it to you guys. Anyway, the plot was basically there was Navy SEALs who were smuggling ISIS fighters into Mexico, who were then being transported across the southern border by Marines. And I'm just saying this, so you guys do with it as you may. And they were trying to smuggle these ISIS fighters into DC in a plot to go against President Trump. Now, all I'm saying is this was a theory that's out there. I'm hearing from people who have pretty good sources, let's just say, that this is very possible and in fact may be likely that this happened, and that's what's happened recently, where you have the sweeping arrests of those Marines, the recalling of SEAL Team, I think it was 10, and a lot of other strange happenings with black helicopters going into DC and doing different operations. But that's about all I can say about that right now, to be quite honest. And I just think it's important to remember that, and that has to do with exactly what you saw at the beginning, what we talked about. So anyway, here it says, Q post, the latest one says, not the first time, not the last time, reread past drops regarding voter ID. So this is a very fascinating story. I guess President Trump tweeted this out. He says, we should immediately pass voter ID. And then he tags somebody's actual account, somebody on Twitter's account, at voter ID, please, to ensure the safety and sanctity of our voting system. Also, paper ballots as backups, old-fashioned but true. Thank you. So you go to this guy's page, this voter ID, guy or girl, I'm not sure who it is, but you click on it, and it has Where We Go On We Go All as the background picture here. And the Anon who points this out says, thanks, Baker. Miss POTUS linking a QAnon at voter ID, please. Would say that might be notable directly to page, not a specific tweet. And then Q just points to this. So obviously, yes, that is President Trump. Another wink and a nod to us here on the boards and what we're doing. And I think it's just the fake news is going to have a field day with it, I'm sure. The next one here is this link. Q linked it to this tweet, which is saying, it's from Enoch here. It says, do you believe in coincidence? Hashtag QAnon, and you click on it and it gives you these graphs. So it says, will voter fraud be exposed before January? And Anon asks. Q says no. 2019 voter ID based on verifiable intel fraud. 2020 plus safeguarded Q. And of course, that relates back to this tweet we just got from President Trump. And yeah, it's all kind of tying everything together that we've heard about this from Q back in 2018. Now in 2019, as was said here, we're making a push for the voter ID. And then he's mentioning a QAnon follower with the Where We Go On We Go All background photo and Where We Go On We Go All in the description. So it's obviously a nod and a wink to us that we're on the right track, and that, the hypocrisy of it too is fascinating. They say that voter ID law is going to somehow discriminate against people's rights to vote, but then we're going to talk about later, it's like you need your ID to basically do everything. So you're saying that are airports discriminatory because you have to use a photo ID to fly? Which actually, believe it or not, I found out that you don't have to have a voter ID, or not a voter ID, excuse me. You don't have to have an actual ID to fly, believe it or not. You can present different kinds of like credit cards and insurance cards and stuff, and they'll actually let you get through security, but it's really invasive, and they do a really, really, one of those full pat downs, and don't ask me how I know. I lost my ID and had to do it once. It was awful. But that's Q saying time travel is fun, or Q. Well, of course, I mean, it's not time travel, it's just future proving past, as we have many, many different examples of that as far as the Q proofs go up to this point. But the mainstream media is terrified of this movement. They are trying to attack us. They're trying to put us out of the, the zeitgeist that is. They're trying to make us into second-class citizens, and they're lobbying for big tech to discriminate against us. It's really bad what's happening here. And it's even worse for what they do to the president, his administration, and people in Congress who stand up against this liberal leftist, extreme leftist bias that exists everywhere in every medium, whether it's tech, media, politics, corporations, whatever. So with that being said, this is an older post Q reminds us of. And this is where Q gave us this. There was a political heat map from the election, which showed the districts that were blue and how they line up perfectly with the high levels of illegal immigrant populations. So this has obviously been a tactic by the Democrats for a long time, which is why they are for open borders. They want to flood these major cities with illegal immigrants who they know are, if they can get to vote, are very likely to vote Democrat, and will do so in huge numbers. And that in and of itself is a part of the fraud that they've been trying to perpetrate against the American people for so long. And I'm sure they've been getting away with it in a lot of different instances. But this talks about a voter ID, and when is a voter ID, or when is not a voter ID, excuse me. It talks about voter ID and how you need an ID to do pretty much everything else in the country as far as doing anything, driving a car or, buying a video game that's got a high rating, whatever it is. And, or going to a movie that's rated R. I mean, it's like a lot of different things, right? But apparently you don't need an ID when it comes to voting for some reason. It's because they want to funnel illegals into the system so that they can vote. Simple as that. That's what this whole thing goes over. I'm not going to read the whole thing. Obviously, you can pause it and read the whole thing if you are so interested. I would definitely encourage you all to check it out. But it says, prepare for voter ID equals voter suppression of minority vote. Q. So, of course, they're going to pivot to the only thing they know how to do, which is call President Trump a racist and say that any policy he puts forth is obviously a racist policy. Any tweet he makes is obviously a racist tweet. When he tweets about the fact that a city like Baltimore is just covered in garbage and rats, and it's just a really bad place to live right now, and how most people wouldn't want to live there if they chose or if they were choosing. And that all of a sudden is a racist, dog whistle or whatever they want to call it. It's really disgusting the way the media has basically called President Trump a racist over and over and over again without one shred of evidence or proof. So it's just one of their tactics. They're failing tactics, mind you. And another one here that's pretty funny. So we get this tweet from Devin Nunes where it's him with a rifle. And it says, hunting for chupacabras circa 2001. And, okay. Yeah. If y'all don't know what a chupacabra is, it's a mythical, or for some of you, it might be a very real creature that seems to exist in the Southwest, some sort of half dog, half gargoyle creation. I'm not sure. Let's just see what Q has to say about this. It says, targets may be closer than they appear. Hunters become the hunted. Q. Well, obviously, I think this is some sort of tongue-in-cheek thing about the fact that Nunes is going to be the one who's hunting for these individuals. I think Wednesday is was supposed to be the big day. We're going to have to wait and see. If it doesn't come out today, then it's going to come out hopefully in the next few days as far as more declassified information being handed down to Nunes. Even though we do have a story coming out about secret text communications that have just been revealed between the second in charge at the British intelligence, MI6, and Andrew McCabe, where they talk about some very ominous things. We're going to cover that here later in the video. So, yeah, I just thought I'd throw that out there. Hunters are becoming the hunted, as in the predators who have been preying on the American people, and many other innocent people are going to be the ones that we are going to come after. Mark my words, legally and lawfully. We're coming after each and every one of you. So now there's this Hill tweet talking about Trump tagging a QAnon account calling for voter ID laws. So the Hill apparently is not afraid to call this out, as most media organizations try not to touch it unless it's a real hit piece. And when you read this, it is basically a hit piece. The Hill's got John Solomon, but apparently they have some others there who want to say some really interesting things. When you read through the article, I guess Q wants us to look at this quote where it says, Trump has periodically called for stricter voter ID laws, which advocates warn could restrict ballot access in low-income communities, students, and people of color, which is so stupid. This is such a tired and meaningless argument. You're trying to tell me that in low-income communities, people can't get driver's license. It's insanity. For the simple fact that, even if you don't have a driver's license, you can go get an ID card very easily. But what they're trying to do is the left wants to make it so that they can keep using illegal immigrants who have no papers or IDs so they can go vote. Q's told us this 100 times. Says, like clockwork, ID required when? Sheep follow the most absurd arguments. Democrat Party voter corruption on display. And, when you read through this, it's an interesting article. It talks about the fact that tagging a QAnon account and all this stuff. So it is what it is. Just thought that was interesting. Yeah, and there you go. That's exactly what we're talking about here. The Anon that pointed that out. Very acutely aware of what we're doing here. The next one here is Q telling us about this placeholder. So this was put over on the Patriots Fight board, which is Q's private board over on 8chan, where they put all these placeholders. And this one talked about exculpatory evidence. And I had actually mentioned in my last video, I think, one of them, that I wasn't sure what the T meant, excuse me. And of course, thank you, Q, for clarifying. It's targets targeted. Watch the news this week, Q. So now this makes a whole lot more sense. Obviously, they're going to declassify and it's going to show exculpatory evidence that shows that President Trump has not been a Russian spy. Rather, he was set up by the former administration and their intelligence officials, and that there was targeted surveillance through the FISA, and it was abused. So that's definitely interesting. We're going to have to watch the news this week. George Papadopoulos coming out with some real big bombshells we're going to talk about later in this video as well. The next one here is this article that's highlighting this, you can read through this, but I read it, and it's just talking about the way that the trade battle has been going, trade war, whatever you want to call it, between the United States and China has been going. And here's an interesting part where the Anon writes all this, or points to all of this, talking about, well, basically the whole gist of it, without me having to read the whole thing, so because you guys can read for yourself, is that President Trump is saying if China waits until he's reelected in 2020 to make a deal, then it's going to be an even worse deal for them, because that's just them trying to wait, as Q has told us before, for the Democrats to come back in power, because they want to just turn us, basically over to the Chinese communists so that they can continue to just siphon money out of our country, steal our intellectual property, abuse the World Trade Organization, and continue to undermine the United States economy as a whole. This is something Q told us back in July of 2019, July 25th to be exact. So I guess it is still July. So this was a few days ago. Q said, possible China monitored Mueller hearing, possible China analyzing likelihood of POTUS re-election 2020, possible China taking steps, think propaganda to harm POTUS regarding 2020, possible China insecure communications with Democrat candidates running for president regarding reinstitute U.S. piggy bank, possible China insecure communications with former Democrat senior party officials regarding reinstituting U.S. piggy bank, possible China put extreme threatening pressure on North Korea the day of the Mueller hearing. Coincidence? Should hearings swing to POTUS? Possible acts were taken in effort to diminish, lessen Democrat blow. Possible acts were taken in effort to change the narrative, define false flag. Q. And then Q says, news unlocks. Do you understand? 5-5, loud and clear. Q. So there you go. You all can see it for yourself. It's just another example of future unlocking, future proving past. Q told us this, like a week ago, and now here we are seeing it in real time, coming out as an article that, just another future proofs past example. Here's another interesting one. Here's a tweet that Q gives us saying, you need an ID for all these, but not to vote. And it says you need an ID for alcohol, cigarettes, opening a bank account, apply for food stamps, welfare, Medicaid, Social Security, unemployment, rent, buy a house, drive, buy, rent a car, get on an airplane, get married, purchase a gun, adopt a pet, rent a hotel room, apply for a hunting license, apply for a fishing license, buy a cell phone, visit a casino, pick up a prescription, hold a rally or protest, blood donations, buy an M-rated video game, purchase nail polish at CVS, purchase certain cold medicines, enter state and federal buildings, but you don't need one for voting. But then it's going to be so racist, and it's going to discriminate against so many people. It's a joke. Their logic is flawed, and it's obvious to everyone who's watching. Battleborn puts this up, another tweet that Q points us to, obviously, where it says, why does the Red Cross have all this money? Where is it going? This is a very good question, and Q just points us to it. This is obviously, we've seen this video probably a few dozen times here on the channel. These massive Red Cross boxes, which people notice have seemingly Arabic characters written on the top of them. And they're just stuffed full of US dollars. We're talking about hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars. If all of these cases are full, that's a lot of money. And the question is, why does the Red Cross have all this money, and where is it going? And that's what Q is going to get into here in the next post, saying, and these are both logical questions Q wants us to look at. Obviously, the first one about the voter ID, and the next one about the Red Cross. So then the next one here is all of these articles. I'm not going to go through each and every one of them. I will link each and every one of them, though. Here's a International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies Independent Auditors Report from KPMG, which is supposedly an independent audit of the organization itself that was conducted in Geneva, Switzerland in April of 2018. And then Q gives us that. but then gives us this Grassley-Thompson letter or article here highlighting the fact that U.S. Senator Chuck Grassley of Iowa and Representative Benny Thompson of Mississippi today introduced legislation to give the Congressional Watchdog Arm complete access to the American Red Cross records for oversight purposes. So this is talking about how they're calling on a more comprehensive oversight of the American Red Cross. And Grassley's been pushing this, and we haven't heard a peep about this in any of the mainstream media news outlets. But what was happening is the American Red Cross was denying access to the Government Accountability Office, which is one of the major functions of that office, is oversight. And the American Red Cross receives a huge amount of taxpayer subsidies. They get a huge amount of tax breaks. They can actually, if you donate to them, that's a tax deductible write-off. And, they're an organization that receives a huge amount of support from the U.S. government. Therefore, we should be overseeing it, correct? Well, if you go through, the next thing that Q gives us is a link to this letter from Chuck Grassley, Senator Chuck Grassley, talking about the American Red Cross and how they should continue to look more closely into its practices, because they're alleging that there was an incredible misuse of funds, waste, fraud, and abuse, many different things that need to be investigated within this organization. Like I said before, I'm not saying the people who, in your community who go volunteer with the Red Cross to help others, I'm not saying that they're bad people. I'm saying that this organization is being obviously misrun. And then we finally got this NPR.org article, which basically talks about how the Red Cross spent 25% of the Haiti donations on internal expenses. So can you imagine that? We're talking about probably billions of dollars here, or hundreds of millions. And then 25% of that was used just on internal expenses. Now, I understand that you have to spend money for, everything, office supplies and accounting and managers and coordinating. I understand there's an expense to running a business, even a business like the Red Cross, which is supposedly a charitable organization. But the fact is 25% is huge. And if you look at that as far as the ratio goes, it almost means that there must be some sort of waste, fraud, and abuse going on, especially given some of the conditions. But I'll let you guys dive deeper into that. Q just says, the more you know, mainstream media coverage, when you control the media, you control public opinion. Q. Yeah, so I'll leave links to all of these in the description if you want to dive a little deeper into it. We've talked about it. I've actually just speculated basically that the Red Cross, what Q's trying to tell us about the Red Cross is that they are helping to launder money for, global human trafficking and drugs and weapons trafficking. So that's just a theory. It's speculative, but I think that's what Q's trying to allude to. So with that, the next one here is a meme saying Psalm 78:45, he sent among them swarms of flies which devoured them and frogs which destroyed them. And then it's a picture of flies on Obama and Hillary and Pepe the Frog. It's interesting, clever. The next one's very fascinating. It's this Twitter post from the Pope. You can't make this stuff up. Pope Francis says, "Let us pray that the Lord will free the victims of human trafficking and help us to respond actively to the cry for help of so many of our brothers and sisters who are deprived of their dignity and freedom." It says #end human trafficking. And I would definitely agree with that. But Q says Godfather 3, it's going to be biblical. Q. Now, Godfather 3 is a reference Q's made a lot. If you actually watch or read about the plot of Godfather 3, obviously, spoiler alert, it's only like, a 30 or 40-year-old movie. But if you actually read through the plot of it or watch the movie, it's about corruption inside of the Catholic Church, money that was being promised to the mafia. And that's like the whole plot of the movie is about these illegal, the mismanagement of funds and how the mafia was working with the Catholic Church on these different real estate deals to make all this money and, to secretly, steal money. It's just, that's what we're looking at here. And it talked about corruption within the Catholic Church, to put it just in a simple way. It says it's going to be biblical, Q says. And if we do get to the bottom of human trafficking, a lot of these stories are pointing back to organizations such as the Catholic Church, and that's quite unfortunate. But we have to continue to put a light on this so that we can end it. As the Pope himself said, we want to end human trafficking. So hopefully we will all be on the same boat when that story comes fully out. Here's what I was talking about, though. The next post is Q giving us this link to this Guardian.com news article, which exposes these secret texts between a senior MI5 official with former FBI Deputy Director Andrew McCabe. So what this talks about, you can read through the story for yourself, but it talks about in this story that there were text messages exchanged between Andrew McCabe and the second in charge at GCHQ, who is now the head of GCHQ, where they make these really ominous tweets or messages to one another about strange situations that they have to deal with regard to Russia, and how they were basically very concerned with the outcome of the Brexit vote. And it talks about in this article how now you have in the UK their own little mini Russia collusion witch hunt hoax investigation going into the fact that they're trying to claim now that Russians were secretly donating millions of euros or pounds to the Brexit movement, and that somehow will invalidate that vote. It's the same tactic they're using here in the United States. So we're just basically up against a really, really deep, dark, evil cabal set on basically destroying not only this country, but most countries in order to establish a one world government. That's their goal. It's biblical, yes, as Q says. Yeah, we read through that. And then finally, here's this Twitter post from George Papadopoulos where it says, transcripts are out tomorrow, the first demonstrable proof to show that not only did we not collude, but the whole world was against us and Donald Trump still won in 2016. When it's all said and done, the story will be of a global effort to take us down that backfired big time. Now, George is one of the people who, I know people very close to him, and let's just put it this way. He was set up. He knows he was set up. He has not been able to talk about it until recently, and then he's released his book, which talks about it in detail. And we're going to get to the bottom of this. It was an effort that was put forth. It was pushed by U.S. intelligence, and they egged on or asked the UK, Italy, and Australia to come and help them set up this whole Russia collusion hoax witch hunt and a predicate for the investigation into President Trump. So that's what Q is obviously pointing us to, and that's what George is going to be exposing as we go further and further. It says, see Guardian article, how do you get ahead of a story? Coincidence? Q. So the Guardian story, obviously what Q is saying is them getting ahead of the story and trying to spin it into this, oh, well, it's just an innocent text exchange between the now head of the GCHQ and the former deputy director of the FBI. No, they were trying to orchestrate a setup against the president of the United States, against the will of the American people. This is beyond anything I've ever seen. I mean, this is how wars start. Let's just put it that way, okay? And these people are trying to cover their tracks right now, and we're exposing them every step of the way. Q gives us a warning, though. It says 24-hour warning, be vigilant, see something, say something, know your surroundings at all times, Q. So I just got a text from a friend while I'm doing this video, somebody who's a really good source, informing me that I guess Mayor Pete Buttigieg's office is being raided as we speak. This is a story that's just coming out. And so there's and I've told you before, there's major operations, I think, going on across the country. It seems there's some sort of contingency operation in place where a lot of National Guard soldiers have been called back to duty or are missing their leave because they're in the middle of an active duty situation. So this is happening right now. This is one example. I'm thinking there's going to be multiple raids coming up, but the fact that the FBI is raiding his office, even if it's just for the housing authority there, that tells you there's something big happening. And all the meanwhile, you have people like Ocasio-Cortez here telling us, basically is making a call to arms, saying that people living in poverty in the U.S. should riot like the Palestinians. I mean, that's kind of, that's basically what the gist of what she was saying is. This person I think is just so low IQ, it's not even worth following her anymore, because I don't even think she realizes the immense and incredible damage that she does just by saying these stupid things that, if you're going to incite violence like this and you're going to call to arms, in my opinion, the people who are living in poverty, you are just showing who you are. You're authoritarian. You're actually trying to become a fascist authoritarian by calling on your minions to riot? This is not what any American U.S. House representative should act like. It's disgusting and it's beneath the office, but not new for her. So that's pretty much where we're going to leave it. A bunch of other stuff we're going to get into in the next video, obviously. Thank you for coming here and joining me. Watch these videos, share them on your social media, get the word out that way. Come here, click the big red subscribe button, make sure it's bell for notifications. And don't forget to leave your thoughts, theories, and insights below. I want to hear what you guys have to say about all of this. Also, if you want to try something out that's going to help you out big time, look, there's this browser. It's called Be Brave. And it's great. I really like it. You guys should check it out. I've been using it for a bunch of different things. And you should try it out yourself. There'll be a link in the description. Click this button to download it. Then you install it. It's just like Chrome. It's just like Internet Explorer. The only difference is it does two things that are different. A, it helps you keep your privacy and see less ads on the internet. And B, it helps you support this channel, because not only do you help the channel when you use the link below to download it and install it, but then every time you visit my channel on YouTube, I will actually get benefit from that. So if you want to support the channel, and it's free and it's convenient and it's a great tool that'll help your internet experience become better, I encourage you to go check it out. Also, if you're going to be in Miami, October 2019, 10th through 20th, October 10th through 20th, I should say, or 10th through 12th, excuse me, you should come check out the American Priority Conference. It's a big charity event, many different speakers. There's going to be a charity golf tournament. It's at Trump National at Doral. You guys know that if you guys know golf, you know the Blue Monster. We're going to have a celebrity golf tournament, and there's going to be some pretty cool celebrities involved with it. Can't say anything yet because, we're still waiting to hear the details, but I'd say you need to sign up now if you want to get involved with this, because the tickets are going to go really fast once they start making the announcements about who all is going to actually be there in totality. So I really would encourage you to use the link at the bottom of this video to go ahead and sign up for the American Priority Conference. And I can't wait to see you guys there, October 10th through 12th, Trump National at Doral this year in Miami. Okay, another way you can help out, come find me on Twitter at JUSTINFORMED. That's a cool way you can help out. And also I have a website, justinformednews.com. Links to both those will be in the description. And there's a couple other ways you can help out, and they're both financial. Patreon, the crowdfunding website, patreon.com. I always tell you guys, look, you support the channel when you come here and make it. It's a monthly donation. You set it and forget it. You're helping create content on this channel on a regular basis. Links will be in the description if you guys want to help out. I really appreciate your help. Also, I have a GoFundMe set up if you want to make a one-time or anonymous donation. That really helps out the channel as well. So, with that being said, we do a segment at the end of each one of these episodes called God's Grace is Greater, where we talk about God's grace and how it is truly greater. And for today, I just want to share a really quick, simple verse that I've shared before, and I think it's really important to always remind ourselves about. But it's James chapter 4, verse 6 through 10, and it says, But he gives greater grace. Therefore he says, God resists the proud, but gives grace to the humble. Therefore submit to God, but resist the devil, and he will flee from you. Draw near to God, and he will draw near to you. Cleanse your hands, sinners, and purify your hearts, double-minded people. Be miserable and mourn and weep. Your laughter must change to mourning and your joy to sorrow. Humble yourselves before the Lord, and he will exalt you. And I know that sounds different, I guess, for some people. They think, well, why are you supposed to change your laughter to mourning and change your joy to sorrow? Because it's about humbling yourself before God. That's what reverence is. It's fear of the Lord. It's understanding that God is omnipotent, is the most powerful force there is. And that's why we not only do we submit ourselves to God, right? But then we resist the devil. Because if we draw near to God, he draws near to us. And never forget that. All you have to do is say a prayer. Just open your heart. Reach out to God, say a prayer, and let that light of God fill your heart and your soul. And then you can go out in the world and do great things for others and become a light that shines so brightly for the world to see. And that's my message to you, to bring that joy to others, and remind yourself and temper yourself with being humble before God and being reverent in his presence. Now, that's where I'm going to go ahead and leave it. I want to say thank you for watching. Come here, click the big red subscribe button if you haven't. Make sure you hit the bell for notifications and hit it, bop it, headbutt it, twist it, tap it, whatever. Hit the like button if you guys like this content and want to see me make more. That's going to be it for me. Thanks for watching this episode of Just Informed Talk. My name is Craig. Godspeed and God bless each and every one of you, Patriots.